All right, so welcome to our 10th grade parent night. We are really grateful to have you all here. My name is Mrs. Schaefernoth. I'm one of the college and academic counselors. Before we get started, I'll let these couple come right in. We're just going to say a quick prayer before we start, okay? Dear Father God, thank you for allowing us all to gather here tonight. You know that we've all had really long days, Father, so please give us focus as we tune in to all the amazing and wonderful things that you're doing and counseling at the King's Academy, Father. And we just pray for our students, God. We pray as you guide them through this process, through the after high school, college application process, God, and give us all strength and wisdom during this time, God. We pray this all in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so I am Mrs. Schaefernoth, or let's see, we'll go over here. So I'm Mrs. Schaefernoth. I have some of your students, and if I don't, or if I haven't met them yet, these are our other counselors. So Mr. Yu is our director. Ji-Sun Kim is one of our other counselors. Lisa Park, Kathy Montgomery, and then Debbie Lokenskar, she's our administrative assistant. So Kathy Montgomery, she's our 8th grade academic counselor. So the 4 of us at the top there are going to be your high school counselors. So we have one of your children. All right, so just a little bit about our college and academic counseling news. So we have been very, very busy. So the month of September, usually the beginning of the school year, is very busy for us. We have a lot of conferences. A lot of the school systems basically want to meet with us, give us updates, let us know what's going on, right? So the month of September was really busy for us. We attended the UC and CSU conferences. We also attended our national conference that happens annually, the NACCAT conference, the National Association for College Admissions and Counseling, and we're able to get admissions updates. So that conference in particular, the NACCAT conference, colleges from all over the country and all over the world even are there. So we get lots of updates, lots of really good information on admissions, AI policies. That's something that's new, right? We haven't really had to think about that until recently, how are colleges using AI? How should students be using AI? Those are things that we were able to learn about at these events. Financial aid, how is that changing? How is the new rollout going? What are the bugs, the kinks, the things that we should know about, that we should be letting you know about? We'll give you a little bit more information about that later on tonight. Impacted majors, okay? Computer science, that's just an example. That's a major in a lot of the universities that a lot of students want to do. They want to go into. They want to try to get into these programs, but oftentimes they have a hard time because they all want to try to go to the same school and go to that program, right? So we had a chance to talk to or hear from a lot of universities about this. What strategies they can use, or what should students be thinking about? How should we be counseling them when thinking about if they want to go into an engineering major or a computer science major. And then we also had an opportunity to visit a few Southern California campuses. So we got a chance to visit UCLA, USC, Biola, which is a Christian university, as well as Azusa Pacific University, which is also a Christian university. So that was really awesome. We got to tour the dorms. So I got an inside look to know what these places look like when students are thinking about going there. We suggest that students go and do their own tours as well, but it really helps us to let them know and give them more information as well. Like, hey, this is what it's like. This is what the campus looks like. These are what the dorms are like. This is what the student body looks like. So it was really great time for us to get some new and updated information to share with you all. All right, tonight we're going to be talking about the big rocks of the college going process, okay? So basically we're going to talk about these 6 points, okay? The college landscape. What does it look like now? Okay, you guys may have thoughts about what the college landscape looked like when you attended college, or, I know I think that, maybe 10 years ago, it was very, very different. Academics, okay, what should academics look like? What should your students be focused on, okay? Extracurricular activities, again, what should your students be focused on? Do they have any extracurricular activities? What are some ones they can think about? Okay, sometimes when we ask students, what do you like to do? They're like, so we like to, give them ideas. They don't play a sport or play an instrument. We'll talk a little bit about that. Financials, again, we'll talk about a little bit about financials. We have an event coming up that's going to explain that and go into that to more detail, but we will mention that. And then TKA CAC support. So what do we do for your student? We're going to go through that and let you all know what we provide and the services that we do, and what your students are going to get from us, and then, of course, what you can also get from us. And then just peace and confidence. We want to wrap it up with a nice bow, okay? We want everyone to feel, as calm as you can, right? We approach college counseling and academic counseling, especially at TKA, with a sense of peace and calm. We don't want our students running around stressed, anxious, worried, about where they're going to go to college, right? We want them to go into it, hey, this is an exciting new adventure they get to go on, preparing for adulthood, preparing for college. It should be a pleasant adventure. Yes, they're going to have some anxiety, but we don't want that to be the focus, okay? So that's how we're going to end the night. So let's start off with the college landscape. All right, so we have, we're lucky actually being in California. We have some of the best public school systems just anywhere, especially in the nation. Okay, so the University of California system, that is the UC system. There's a strong emphasis on graduate program preparation. Okay, so some students, they think, oh, UCs, that sounds cool. UCLA, they have cool sports teams. But UCLA is actually in the body of schools, the UC system, and basically they focus a lot on their graduate program preparation, okay? So they have world-class research in sciences and humanity, okay? They're really built around research. So the graduate aspect of it is a lot of those big universities are gonna be putting a lot of their money into research, a lot of their money into graduate students. Okay, emphasis in theory-based education. Okay, so that's learning the concepts, learning a lot of these certain principles, and then learning how to apply them. Okay, it's a little bit different. We're going to talk about the California State University system next, but just keep that in mind. The UCs are going to be a little bit different when it comes to their learning style, and again, they're preparing students for graduate study. There's 9 undergraduate campuses. Okay, there's a lot of them. Of course, the well-known ones, a lot of you know Berkeley, of course I already mentioned UCLA, UC Merced, UC San Diego, so there's a lot of different ones, but it's important to know, again, some of our students, they're only aware of what they hear in social media, or what they hear from their friends, or, they don't really know, okay, these campuses are actually really different. They're part of the same school system, but they're really different. So like if you have a student who's interested in biology, interested in engineering, Berkeley, that's one of the top things they're good at, right? They have really great top engineer professors, top engineer programs. So, that's something they're really good at. Now, if you have a student who wants to be a veterinarian, UC Davis actually would be the best place for them to go. Okay, they have the top veterinary program in the nation. So just to get them thinking, it's important to do your research to know what the different campuses offer, because they are different, they offer different things. Where they're located is different too. If you have a student who's interested in maybe something a little bit more urban or somewhere maybe a little bit more suburban, it's always important to know those differences. The estimated annual total is about $42,000 per year. Okay, and this is for California residents. It is going to differ whether you're a resident or international. Those change the numbers a little bit. There are 4 essays, okay, to complete as part of the application. So when you apply to University of California, it is 1 application, but there are 4 essays. They're short. They're about 650 words that are also part of that application. They care about extracurricular activities. Okay, they want to know what your students do outside of school. Okay, that is important to the UCs. And they do not require any recommendation letters or scores. So you won't need teacher recommendation letter, counselor recommendation letter, no SATs, ACTs. They don't really care about that. Well, no, but it's kind of embedded into the 4 essays, yeah. All right. Okay, oh, sorry, we skipped. Okay, there we go. So now we have the California State University system, okay, the CSU system. They emphasize undergraduate education, okay, and they're more practical and hands-on, okay. So basically, they basically want you to learn by doing. I think it's Cal Poly that has that as their like slogan, but it's more hands-on. So if your student learns better doing hands-on, less theory-based, then the CSUs would be really great. Okay, think of like nursing. Okay, think of like just practical application for careers. CSUs are amazing for that. There's 23 campuses, okay? So the UCs, there's 9, but CSUs, there's 23, okay, scattered all throughout California. The estimated total annual cost is about $30,000. So you'll see it's significantly less, I feel like it's a little more budget friendly, right? The CSUs. And they have a really simple application, okay? There are no essays, no recommendation letters, no test scores. Okay, so it takes students like 20, 30 minutes to fill out the entire application, which is amazing, right? You're talking about a really stressful time for them. They can knock that out super quick. And again, there's 23 campuses, right? So I feel like you're getting a good deal applying to one of the CSUs. All right, and then the California Community College System. We also have a really awesome community college system in California. It's one of the best in the nation. And many of our California community colleges also have programs called TAG, so Transfer Admission Guarantee, to many UCs, CSUs, honors programs. So those are good to research too. Like sometimes we'll bring that up to students and they don't really know what they want to do after college. We're like, that's fine. Have you considered maybe going to a California community college? There are programs in place that you do some of your undergraduate study, your first 2 years, but there's guaranteed transfers to some of the UCs or CSUs to some of the bigger universities. So that's something to consider when researching colleges. It's a shorter path, a 2-year degree for some professions, right? Some professions only need, that associate's degree to get started, okay? So that might be the best fit for some students. There are 116 community colleges in California. There's, Foothill, De Anza, Cañada, Mission, San Jose City. Those are some of our local community colleges close by. The estimated total annual cost is about $3,500 or less. With the California Promise, that's a different program for California residents that students have the opportunity to apply for, but $3,500, that's really budget friendly, right? That's really different to $30K or $40K. Is a bit significant difference there, and they only require a high school diploma, okay? They really just want to know and validate the students have graduated from high school, okay? They don't need anything else, no essays, test scores, extracurriculars, recommendation letters, anything. And then, of course, California is recognized as a leader in the U.S. for community colleges. We have some of the best. All right, so another option some of our students choose is non-California or private colleges, okay? So we have our UC system, we have our CSU system, and then we also have private colleges in California and out of state. And they're a wide range, okay? Size, location, mission, diversity, undergraduate focus, et cetera, okay? They're typically going to require a school or counselor report. That's basically just a report from us giving them information about our school so they have context, okay? All schools do that. They give that to them so they know, oh, okay, this school in California, this is what they do. This is how they do their GPAs. This is, how many APs they have, things like that, okay? Test scores, mostly optional since COVID, okay? But I'm sure some of you may be aware that some of them are becoming required again. So when you're students, when it's time for them to start applying to colleges in a couple of years, that may change, right? There may be more schools who are requiring it again. So we keep tabs on that, okay? We try to keep and know what schools have done that so we can inform our students, but it's always a good chance to check, right? Always make sure you check. But again, mostly optional, some are still required. They do care about extracurricular activities, so the things your students are doing, the activities your students are doing outside of school or in school, if they're playing sports or instruments, things like that. And then estimated total annual costs, that's going to range wildly, from $25,000 all the way up to $90,000, close to $100,000, right? The cost is going to really vary when you're talking about private colleges. Essays, that's going to vary too, okay? How many they require, if they require a personal statement, if they require, additional essays, all of that's going to really vary, okay? So that's going to come down to the research that you as a family do, the student does. Okay, what does this school really require to apply? Recommendation letters, same thing. Some require them, some don't. Some only require teacher recommendations, some just require counselor recommendations. So again, that's going to come down to the research, just making sure your student knows what that school is going to require. And then interviews. Some schools require interviews, okay? Not all private schools require them, but some do. So again, research, just know, okay, what does this school require for applying, and then you'll know. All right, the impacted majors. So I mentioned this a little bit when I was talking about computer science. Here's a list. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list, okay? This is just what we've gathered and what we see the most and what other educators see the most as being some of the most impacted majors, and that's going to be biology, okay, pre-med. And impacted, means that basically there's not enough seats, right? There's not enough seats for all the students who want to apply to these types of majors. Now, that doesn't mean for all schools, okay? But a lot of the more popular schools, like let's say the schools in our UC system, okay, the California Berkeleys, the UCLA, the private schools, the USCs, things like that. Okay, these are going to be majors that are going to be impacted. Okay, they're going to be hard for students to get admitted to because, again, they're getting more applicants than they have seats. Okay, so that's biology, business, computer science, engineering, nursing. Okay, now again, this doesn't mean all schools. There could be a school that has plenty of seats, but students just don't know about it or they're just not applying to it. So just keep that in mind. If your student is really dead set in studying one of these majors, then they may have to cast a wide net. Okay, just help them not to be too narrow focused because, again, these are impacted at a lot of the popular universities and colleges. All right, getting into selective colleges. Since we're talking about impacted majors, the hard truth is it's not really always based upon GPA, extracurriculars, all these things that we tell students to focus on when they're in high school, right? Get good grades and get a high GPA and do all these extra things. Sometimes it's really not going to matter, right? You have these things. All universities and schools have institutional priorities. Okay, they have things they have to do from a business perspective. Okay, even when they're thinking of all these students who want to apply, they also have to think of their priorities, right? So recruited athletes, they have to think about that. How many recruited athletes do they need? That brings an income for their school, right? National level awards and honors. Oftentimes, this again brings attention to their school. Okay, sometimes these people go on to start companies or do whatever, but from the college and university perspective, they're thinking, okay, what's going to benefit the company side, okay, of the university? So, national level awards and honors, big donors. Now, we just saw, I think, in the news that they're getting rid of, was it the Yes, legacy, right? So you're thinking about big donors, right? Now, sometimes that comes with legacy, not always, but sometimes, right? But that is a priority for some of these schools, okay? They need big donors. Again, business. Think of the business side. I know we think oftentimes we're like, well, this is just a great school. I just want to get a great education. Everyone's thinking that. But again, the business side. Compositional diversity. They have to think about that too, right? Even though they're getting rid of some of the programs that kind of force that a little bit, schools are still thinking about it, okay? They still have that as a priority, compositional diversity. Legacy and faculty relations, that one we can kind of X out now, right? But that used to be a big factor for them. And then other institutional priorities, okay? Things that we will never know, okay? They will never tell us. They're never gonna come out and have a news report saying, oh, such and such school is looking for this type of student. It will never happen, right? Because what are they gonna get? They're gonna get 100,000 of that exact same type of student, right? So that's not gonna happen, but again, it's just always good to keep these things in mind. And it's good for the students to know that too, okay? We share this with our students because we want them to know, hey, your top school, the school that you've dreamed about going to, they have priorities too. Okay, your priority is to get into that school. Their priorities are going to be a wide range of things, right? So they just need to know that. If a time comes and maybe they don't get in, that disappointment can rest on. It doesn't mean that you weren't good enough, okay? It could just mean they had other priorities, okay? And maybe you didn't fit in that, and that's okay, okay? So you're going to fit in somewhere. All right, so the good news, right? There's a college for everyone, okay? So that's the moral of this story, right? There's a college for everyone. There's 3,000, okay, number of four-year colleges in the U.S. 85%, of colleges that accept more than half of applicants. Okay, so when you see some of these really small percentage acceptance rates, like 5% or 2%, please know that that is not the majority of colleges, okay? That's not even the majority of our colleges here in California, the UCs and CSUs. That's a very small percentage of private and public universities that have those really small numbers, okay? Because those are just the most well-known. Okay, the most students hear and know about them, so the most people apply, okay? And you get those really small acceptance rates, but 85% have more than half or accept more than half of applicants, okay? So keep that in mind too. There's a college and a place for everyone, for all of our students. These are our outcomes from 2024, okay? So you can kind of see where all of our students, kind of ended up, and this is, the pie chart that kind of lays it all out. Okay, we have a fair amount California public, okay? So that's gonna be our UCs, CSUs, our private colleges, okay? That's our next little piece right there, and then the rest out of state, and then we have some doing community colleges, gap year, and some in the military. So you see a wide range of where students, or what kind of schools and decisions students have made. This is from last year. And then this is specifics, where TK students go. Okay, this is not necessarily from last year, but this is just a snippet of where students go. And as again, you can see it's a wide range. Okay, it's not just UCs, it's not just California schools, it's a lot of different schools all over the United States. In great schools. Okay, you're going to get great education at any of these schools. Okay. All right. And then academics. Okay, Mrs. Kim is going to come and share more about that.
Hello. This is going to be more specifically about the King's Academy, but I just wanted to share that I have 4 kids. I have 2 in college. I have a senior. I have a 9th grader. My second one also went through here and graduated here, so I know what you guys are going through. Mrs. Park back there also, her 3 kids graduated from King's as well, so we understand the confusion that sometimes you have, and also a lot of the questions that you might have regarding this. And I know college in particular is very confusing, and that just ask questions because it's hard to know everything that's going on with this. So, okay, am I doing this right? Okay, so many of you might have seen this, and also these slides will be shared, so don't feel like you have to take pictures unless you want to. This is also in our course catalog in one of the first pages, but this is just a general outline of classes, and so you can kind of plan for the next 2 years for your students since you're in 10th grade. The colored area is mandatory, and then at the very end you can see the TK graduation requirements, and then at the very end we have a UC CSU requirements, because a lot of our students, I would say most of our students end up applying to a UC or CSU, so we prioritize that. And the requirements for colleges vary so much, there would be no ways to actually put all that up there. So you can look at that as well. A student transcript. Some of you may have not seen this before, some of you might have. We just wanted to point out a few things about how to read our transcript. At the top, there's the GPAs. So academic GPA is a weighted GPA, and then there's an unweighted GPA. So there's 2 of them. Every school, every college actually weighs things differently. So be aware of that as well. Don't get hung up too much on the GPA because every college does it differently. The UCs only do 10th and 11th grade for GPA, and they don't weigh every single honors and AP class. They have a cap. There's just all these different rules. I know like even unweighted SCU, Santa Clara University and Stanford both use the unweighted GPA, and then they give a different index score for rigor. So don't get too hung up on the GPA, and like we count Bible. A lot of schools are not going to count Bible, you know, things like that. So it's just a general idea. And then you can see courses taken by group by semester, and then you can also see summer courses on there. We do put planned courses. So right now they have the planned courses. So you can see what they're taking right now. And then they don't have grades yet, obviously, because we haven't finished the semester. And then there's a section number 4 that has enrichment courses. We do put up to 5 enrichment courses. That can be community college. I think that's the most common one that we put in there, but sometimes students choose to take other classes for whatever reason, and we can put up to 5 in there. Don't feel like you have to. Plenty of our students don't do that, but if your student chooses to take classes that we don't offer a lot of times, sometimes they'll go find it at a community college, and this is where we would put it. Okay, so they surveyed and looked at a bunch of data for colleges, and this is what they came out with in the 2023 admission cycle. This is what the colleges said they care most about. Of course, they care first and foremost about grades. Like, that's just college. It's an academic institution. They have to care about grades. So that is one of their top priorities. So high school grades and college prep courses, strength of high school curriculum, that's rigor, which means honors and AP classes. Sure. Okay, I'll start at the top. Total high school grades, all courses. High school grades and college prep courses, strength of high school curriculum, positive character attributes, essay or writing sample, counselor recommendation, extracurricular activities, teacher recommendation, students' interest in attending the school, work, admission test scores, high school class rank, subject test scores, portfolio interview, state graduation exam scores. So this is very comprehensive of like 3,000 universities. Every school is going to prioritize differently. This is just to give you an idea. And really one of the things we did want you to see is that they care about grades. And I think sometimes kids don't think that. They think if I do really good extracurriculars or if I accomplish this or that, that will compensate for that. But you know, it's an academic institution, they're going to. So we will, again, these slides will be available so that you can see it more closely. Okay, course selection. This is one of the hardest things that I think parents have to do and that parents have a lot of question about, like what classes should my kid be taking, right? And there are more options in high school than there ever was in junior high, right? So, so some things to think about. Colleges are looking for college readiness. And one way they can do it by is looking at the rigor of their transcript. Selective colleges are looking for increasing rigor as the years go on. And also, like what you pick can show what you're actually interested in, right? So if you are interested in engineering and you never take physics, that's kind of a red flag to schools that you're maybe not really interested in engineering or shouldn't be interested in engineering. If you're interested in music or dance, you know, like you're interested more in the arts, you never take an art class here, then they might wonder why that you're doing that. I know, so this is like, you don't need to know this now, but sometimes people try to game the system. Like they actually want to be want to try to switch into engineering, but they say I'm going to be an English major. So they take all these engineering courses and then they put down English major. College can see right through that. And they look at the extracurriculars, right? They're in robotics, they're doing like coding competitions, but they say they want to be an English major. They'll think, no, you don't. This is obviously that you don't want to do that. So you're kind of creating a complete package through your transcripts, the classes you take, and your extracurriculars. They should sort of align with a potential major. And when the colleges read the application, they kind of want to see who you are by putting it all together. You start putting in like weird majors. I want to major in Russian studies. Well, you're not Russian, you never have any interest. I don't know, like, they can see right through that. Like, don't do that, because you'll just get rejected. Okay, so here are some potential majors and the relevant courses that we have. I'll just read the first couple ones, but you guys can look at the slides later. Art design, discovery art, ceramics, digital design and art, AP 2D art, we added that last year. Business, statistics AP, econ, CS principles, world language, things like that could all be relevant. And of course, computer science, CS, we have a couple of CS classes, calculus, those would align with that. Okay. Okay, the guiding principles. Students are encouraged to challenge themselves in courses that interest them. That should be really what you're focused in. Sometimes it's fine for kids to explore, students to explore, obviously, classes that they've never been exposed to. But once they explore it and they really hate it, try not to keep pushing them into other classes like that, because often they won't be successful. So it's better just for kids to do what they really like. Oops, over there. Okay, so let's talk about advanced placement courses. Some of your kids have probably taken one, but many of your kids haven't taken any yet, and that's okay. A lot of our 10th graders have not taken an AP course. We just wanted to talk, if they're college level courses, be aware of that. They're significantly harder than a lot of our classes. They provide students an opportunity to experience an intro level college class. There is a lot of self-teaching that goes on in our AP classes. There isn't as much hand-holding. They are sort of geared to be college level. So be aware of that. They are harder. Some kids are ready for that in 10th or 11th grade, and some kids aren't. They need an extra year. They can take AP classes in 12th grade as well. we have caps, we put caps by year. So 9th was 2, 10th was 3. 11th graders will have 4 caps. And then 12th grade, you'll have 5. What's the benefits of it? It shows motivation. It shows that you're really interested in a given subject. It demonstrates academic interest. You will get an extra grade bump. So if you get an A, it'll be out of a 5 points instead of 4. And B will be a 4 point instead of a 3, things like that. So it does help with the weighted GPA because it shows rigor. And depending on the college, they might give you credit. It really varies by college if you can get credit for that. My son is at San Jose State. They're very generous with credit. He can graduate a year early because of that. But other private schools won't give you anything for it. So it kind of depends on the university. And don't ask for more than 4 APs. We've said no to many, many parents who've asked. So the cap is 4. Student council, I believe they have a separate cap of 3. And we do note that, at least, we will note that to the college to know that they could have taken 4, but because they are part of student council, they were limited to 3. And colleges take that into consideration. Okay, so how do we request these AP and honors classes? Most of you are very good about this, but there are a few students who every year in the fall come to us and say, I didn't know that I was supposed to request and this and that. Okay, so we're gonna lay it out for you guys. And hopefully your children will understand. We will go into the classrooms, to the 10th grade classrooms, and we will also explain this to them as well. There is a process for asking for these classes. First of all, check the prerequisites in the course catalog. You should have a digital copy. You can find it online. The honors and AP classes do have prerequisites for them. So look what they are. If you're within 1 letter grade, let's say the prerequisite was a A-, your child has a B- first semester, because we do it after the first semester, and they want the class, go ahead and request it. Okay, go ahead and request it if they want it, and they're they're 1 letter grade off. Ask for it. It's better for us to know because second semester. So what happens is you request it, and then you may not get it. But then second semester we look at all the grades again at the end of second semester, and the academic department who look at this will make a qualitative judgment whether they feel like they're ready for the honors or AP class. Okay, so keep that in mind. It does not mean that they'll get it, but ask for it so that we know that you're at least thinking about it and that you want it. Otherwise, we won't know you want it. I think might hesitate, I don't think they'll get it, so I'm not gonna put it down. Then we won't even know, so just go ahead and ask. The AP courses, there will be a Google form sent out in January, early January usually. That's when it was sent out last year. You request it there. It's a whole Google form. You can request 4 APs, and then it will go to the AP committee, and then the students will receive a decision. And then in February through fax, that's when you will request all your classes. Only apply for the AP approved, the ones that you got approval for at that point, okay? We'll know that you requested it because we have we have the Google form, but only request the ones that you actually get approved for. We will go through and take you out, and then people, are surprised, I requested it, why didn't I get it? It's because you weren't approved for it. So please just do what you were approved for. And again, maximum of 4 APs in 11th, 3 if you're student council. And again, a note of just about academic pressure. 11th grade is one of the most pressure-filled years because for some colleges, that's the last year they'll see. For the UCs, that's the last year that they calculate for their GPA. So students do feel a lot of pressure in 11th grade. And so we try to keep that all in, we try to take that all into account actually when we do the AP approvals. If we think that the student is, for whatever qualitative reason, like we've heard from teachers or whatever, that they're really burning out in 10th grade, with like 1 AP and then they ask for 4, we may make a judgment to limit how many they take. And of course, if you're overloaded, it could result in an overall lower GPA, which is not what you want. And reduced sleep, they don't do as many extracurriculars, which are important. So you really want to try to think about what is a good balance, what are they actually interested in, what don't you need to take, things like that. Okay, standardized tests. Is this test score required? Again, it's changing. The past summer, there's the few of the elite schools have started requiring it, but not all of them. Not all of the Ivies require it, but most of them do now. If you're an engineer, if you're planning to be an engineer, they highly suggest an SAT score or an ACT score. Nursing often requires an SAT score too, depending on the nursing school, but nursing is more competitive. So the more competitive it is, sometimes they will require an SAT. One question I've had, I don't know if any of you have started looking, but it's very difficult to find a test center. We do offer the SAT spring of junior year and fall of senior year. So we do offer it here. So if you can't find a testing center, but it can be very hard to find them because there's not enough places that have enough Wi-Fi power to actually do the testing because now it's all digital and they have to have Wi-Fi. So places have shut down because their Wi-Fi there's too many people on the Wi-Fi. So that's why they're having these issues right now. And if you look up there, there's also colleges that, like the public schools in Florida, Georgia Tech, MIT, Purdue, U.S. Service Academies, they're requiring the SATs now. What is a good score? It depends. It depends on the college you're applying to. So you have to look at their history of their SAT scores and then determine it by that. Because what's good for one school is not sometimes good for another school. It really just depends. And another common question is which is better to take, the ACT or the SAT? They are equally valid. Don't think that colleges look down on one or the other. They're different tests. So sometimes students over the summer will go and take a practice test for both and see which ones they're better at. So you could do that if you really want to, if you're that invested. And so some people do that. Some of the test prep centers will offer free practice tests, like on a Saturday, because they want you to hire them. So you can look for free tests as well. So how should we plan? So again, we offer an official test in the spring of junior year, and then you can see how you did and retest again. Most schools super score, which means they take the highest scores that you have. So if you had a higher English verbal score on one set of exams and then a higher math on another set of exams, they'll take the 2 highest and create a new super score. Yes? So it's spring of junior year, not senior year. Yeah. So it will be relevant. And then fall of senior year, we just finished our SATs. They take it at the same time as the PSATs. When your students took the PSAT, it's at the same time. Okay. Now we have extracurricular activities with Mr. Yu.
Guys okay? You shake it off a little bit? That was a lot, huh? So you guys would be surprised to hear that the title of this document that we're showing you right now is Truncated Version for 10th Grade Parent Nights. This is actually, I know it's a lot of information, but this is actually the shortened version. We try to give you guys what we felt was important for parents to know, and you're probably thinking, wow, how am I going to pass this on to my kids? We're going into Mrs. Kim and Coach Terry's classrooms next week to meet with all your 10th graders. We'll give them a even more truncated version, okay? But you guys will have these slides, so don't worry about it. You guys can go through it, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I wanted to talk a little bit about extracurriculars. There was a school that, a very selective school that came when I first started doing college counseling here, and there was an example that they used. I always remember. They asked, is it more impressive for a student applying for college who has taken Spanish 1, Spanish 2, 3, all the way up until AP, or for a student who's taken Spanish 1, Mandarin 1, French 1, ASL 1? The answer was the one who's taken all the way up to AP, right? Because it shows demonstrated interest, it shows mastery of a skill, right? In order to move to Spanish 2, you have to have first mastered Spanish 1, so on and so forth. It shows commitment. And they said the same thing goes for extracurricular activities. What they're looking for is sustained commitment. There's nothing wrong with knowing the basics of 4 different languages, right? Just like there's nothing wrong with picking up trash at the park one time and serving at the library one time and working at a soup kitchen one time. But really what stands out to colleges is that sustained commitment, that growth, that commitment, that demonstration of passion. So when we start applying for colleges, so senior year, fall, okay, on the Common App, it gives students 10 spaces to fill out all their activities, 10 slots. And in those 10 slots, you have about 150 characters to briefly summarize what it is that you did there, what you were able to contribute to the activities. For the UC application, it's 20 slots. I always tell students, you don't need to do all 20. You don't need to fill even all 10, right? And so what the schools want to give you the opportunity to and the space to be able to put down everything that you've been involved in. But really what it comes down to is usually 3 or 4 solid activities. So in the application, it'll also ask you, how long have you done it for? How many hours per week did you do it for? So again, colleges are highlighting the commitment and the time spent, the energy spent in these individual activities. They're looking for things like number 4, the sustained commitment and substantive contribution, so growth inside, leadership opportunities, so instead of a one-off, one-time activity. But also, we always tell students, you gotta enjoy what you're doing, right? Don't do things just for the sake of colleges. Don't do things just because you think that's what a college wants to see. But colleges, they're looking at our applications holistically, right? Which means that the academics are important, but they also want to see common themes in our rec letters, in our personal essays, and also in our activities. I also want to talk a little bit about the importance of activities. So a lot of times students ask, is it really important that I do extracurriculars, or is it, academics, that's kind of the most important thing. So Ji-sun talked about this earlier. She showed us the chart from NACAC that pulled all the different colleges, and you'll see academics and academic rigor indeed are the most important, right? But kind of tied there at the number 2 spot, we have personal essays, we have counselor recommendation letters, we have extracurriculars, and we have teacher recommendation letters. All of them are more or less ranked the same. And so when a college is looking at a package, yes, they're looking at the academics, they're looking at the classes that you've taken, but they also care about, hey, what have you done with your time outside of the school? Okay, so the extracurriculars are important. They also help kind of paint a 3D picture of who your student is, right? And so at the end of the day, when a college is looking at several thousand applications, all the transcripts kind of start to blur together. Everyone's taken more or less the same classes. Your extracurricular is your opportunity for your student to stand out or to show the schools, hey, beyond my studies, beyond all the classes that I had to take, my core classes, this is really what I'm interested in. Okay. Also, number 3, colleges want decent, kind, inclusive students that look for evidence that you will be a positive addition to their student body. And I tell this to my seniors all the time. I said, yeah, you want to go to such and such a school, but why does such and such a school want you, right? What do you have to bring to the table? And so these activities should be able to, again, demonstrate the passion and the interest that you have. Now, I get a lot of questions from families about, okay, well, if my student wants to do this and this major, does that mean that they shouldn't play sports? Or they should only do activities that are related to such and such a major? I don't want to get too into the weeds right here, but short answer, no. Okay, so obviously if your student wants to get into like a pre-med route or engineering, having STEM related or medical type of experiences is valuable, but at the same time, those opportunities are hard to come by. And so a lot of times students can focus on things that they enjoy doing, but also help demonstrate transferable skills, right? So for example, if your student wants to get into nursing and you're not able to get some internship at a hospital, right? Being able to work, volunteer at a nursing home, right? Being able to work at a daycare center, even being able to work at a retail job where you're able to demonstrate, okay, I had to stay on top of inventory, I had to punch in and day out, I had to work with different kinds of personalities. Like, these are transferable skills that colleges are able to see, okay, I can see why you would be successful in a career path like this. Now, we have some examples here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you look at the first column there, it kind of breaks down a very simple timeline of where our students should be at this point. So in 9th grade, we tell students, just do what you enjoy, right? But try new things. This is a time to explore. Don't lock yourself in. If you have one good after-school activity, one club that you join at school, that's a good start. By 10th grade, we start to ramp things up a little bit. Okay, was there anything that you did in 9th grade that you really liked and that you kind of like to take to a deeper level? Or is there anything that you want to try new? This is still a good time to be able to try new things. And then by 11th grade, you've kind of filtered out a little bit. Okay, I know what I like, I know what I don't like. How can I take this to the next level? How can I maybe look for leadership opportunities? And then by 12th grade, you're trying to step into roles with more responsibility, more leadership. But also, by the start of 12th grade, you're already applying for colleges. So it's a very short runway for our students to be able to demonstrate any sort of particular skill or characteristic. And so I don't want them to feel too much pressure, like I have to have something incredible by junior year. But I always tell students, at least do something, right? Just do something. So if they need help coming up with ideas, if they're not sure what they're interested in, we always tell our students, find some time to come talk to your counselor. We'd be happy to brainstorm together. Okay, so these are all kind of different examples of activities that maybe our students have done in the past, depending on areas of study that they're interested in. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see it on the slide later on. But again, I like this one here. So even serving at church, I get questions for this a lot. Does VBS count? Does serving in youth ministry count? Right? And you look at the opportunities that are available there. There's a lot of leadership opportunities. There's a lot of room to kind of express your creativity in organizations like church and VBS. And so I always encourage students, yes, get plugged in with your church. Do what you can to help out. All right, so now you guys have heard all these things that your kids have to do, all these things that you guys have to prepare for. What is it that we here in the College and Academic Counseling department do? First and foremost, I just want to plug this. Okay, we have a financial aid night. This is Trevor Mizrahi. He works for a college prep company down in Southern California. He came and spoke with our school last year about the new FAFSA on October 22nd at 7 p.m. via Zoom. He will be going into, again, the new FAFSA, the CSUS profile, how to start preparing for saving up for college and all that. So do encourage those of you who are interested to join. Okay, and then as far as the counseling services for our students, so all of your students by now have been assigned a counselor, even if they're new to TKA this year. We've sent emails out introducing ourselves, and again, we'll be going into the classrooms next week so that the students can put a face to the name and just kind of giving them a rundown of, hey, what are some things that you should be looking for? What are some things that you can start preparing for, some short-term goals for yourself? We talked earlier about the PSAT and SAT being administered on site. All of us here, we serve as proctors, and so we were proctors for the PSAT and the senior SAT last week. And then we have this college matchbook. So this is a workbook that we purchase for our students in 11th grade, just really to get them to start thinking about, okay, what are my values in terms of what I'm looking for in a college-going experience? besides the academic, how important is the social balance, how important is the geography, how important is the price, all that kind of stuff, just to get them to start having these conversations with you guys about the college research program. Naviance is also a software that the TKA pays for. All students have been given access to their Naviance account starting in 9th grade. So in 10th grade, so next week we'll be talking about that a little bit again. Students are welcome to explore, add schools that they're interested in on there. There's different assessment tests, personality assessments, career assessments that students are able to take for free. So again, we'll get them set up with that next week. Parent nights such as this one, we do one for every grade every year, and then we'll also have special topics and guest speakers that come from time to time. And then optional appointments for students to come talk about scheduling issues, going over 4-year plans. Earlier we talked about choosing honors and APs. Okay, so that usually comes up in January and February for the upcoming year. So starting January, February, we'll start reaching out to your 10th grade students for appointments so that they can come in and talk about, okay, hey, what APs should I be considering next year? How much is too much? What's a good load for me? Parents are always welcome to join those meetings as well. And then college workshops. So we're in the thick of college application season right now. Okay, usually it's from November through January. So on Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., we open up the library computer lab for our seniors to all bring in their devices and just be able to work on college apps together while being able to get help. So whether it's CSU, Common App, UCs, reading your essays, whatever it is, we provide that support for students most Wednesdays. All right, this is, again, Naviance. This is the program that we use. I'm not going to go too much into that. So a couple of closing thoughts. I know that a lot of the kind of the societal narrative is that, you know, college is super hard to get into. Everyone's got to do so much just to be able to get into college now. You have to get into a name brand school, all of that. And so a lot of how our counselors try to kind of stand against this tide is really just telling students, hey, fit above all else, right? It's important to have a good academic program that supports the next stage of your academic journey. But I think there sometimes can be too much of an emphasis, especially out in Silicon Valley, about getting into only a certain types of schools. And so if you were to break this down, I mean, for every family, I think, you know, the wheel might look a little bit different. There might be more value or emphasis placed on academic or financial fit, whatever it is. But it is a holistic process. It's not just about the name brand. It's not just about the academic program. But as we go into 11th and 12th grade and start to have more of these college conversations, you'll find that there's a lot more to the college going process and college application process than kind of what you're hearing or seeing on Facebook. So the first one is kind of the big one here. Understand that there is not a scarcity of college spots. So again, everyone's usually applying to like the same 15 schools. If I told everyone in here to take down a piece of paper and write down 10 schools, I guarantee there's going to be a ton of overlap, right? We're all thinking of the same schools all the time, but like Cherie said earlier, Cherie, right? 3,000 schools out there, about 85% of them will take most applicants, okay? So, you know, beyond the name, what else are we looking for, right? What other programs do they have to offer? What's their return of investment? Like how many students have internship opportunities? How many of them are getting jobs right after they graduate? You know, there's a lot of factors to consider. I'm actually really thankful, okay? This is my 7th year here. I think what I've been seeing a lot more is the support from parents. It used to be, at least for me growing up, you know, the tiger parents generation, right? Mom's like, oh, you know, you're not taking enough APs, and why you don't have straight A's and this, that. Now I'm getting a lot of parents coming in that's just like, hey, my student is so stressed out. My student is so overwhelmed. How do we support them in the right way? How do I let them know that academics aren't everything? And so I really appreciate that. I hope that's something that we can continue to kind of push on to our children here at TKA, that we're a Christ-centered school first and foremost, right? If we were only about APs, if we were only about getting into top-tier schools, there's tons of those schools out there. But I think our values here at the King's Academy are very clear, and hopefully us as educators and us as parents can all kind of share that same message to our students. Okay, and here the last thing is just a couple of pointers that our students can start doing right now. I always tell students in 10th grade, it's too early to start worrying about college. Okay, we're going to worry about the specifics later on. It's good for you guys as parents to start stressing out a little bit maybe right now. Okay, but for the students, they just need to take it easy. They're still children. Build good, strong study habits. Get involved in your school. You know, do activities. Explore. Find out what it is that you want to do. Participate and keep track of activities. So I talked about earlier, by the time you're applying to colleges, you're going to have to put down how much time you've put into each activity. It's a smart idea to just put a Google Sheet together right now, share it with your kids, and as they're getting involved in different kinds of activities throughout the years, each time you guys just throw it in there. What's a little snippet of what I did while I did this and this activity? Visit 2 college campuses. Okay, not everyone can fly out to the East Coast or anywhere else to just visit schools on a whim, but we have some great schools out here in California. We have the UCs, right? Berkeley and Santa Cruz, less than an hour away. We have Santa Clara and Stanford, right? We have San Jose State. So being able to visit like a big UC versus a medium-sized school like Santa Clara University, really kind of allows students to start to process, hey, what are the differences between going to the 2 types of schools? And then if you're going on vacations, just look up if there's a local college offering tours nearby and go check it out, and you guys can make it a fun family activity together. And then being intentional about your course selection for junior year. So Jason talked about this earlier too. Junior year can be considered one of the most important academic years, so we want to be strategic on how we go about our course selection, how we go about planning our tests, how many APs we're taking, right? If you're overloading on AP classes and it starts to affect the rest of your classes, that's not a good way to go about it either. So I encourage you guys to reach out to your counselors. If you guys aren't sure who your counselors are, you guys are welcome to email academiccounseling@tka.org. Again, that's academiccounseling@tka.org, and just say, who's my student's counselor, and then we'd be happy to connect you. All right, so I want to open up the floor a little bit for some Q&A. I do ask that during this time, if you have Q&A, keep it kind of general. We'll just keep it for maybe a couple minutes, and then afterwards, all of us counselors will stick around, and if you have some more specific questions, feel free to come on up too. All right?
A quick question about ACT. So obviously SAT, PSAT has gone all the way through this school.
Yeah.
And you're saying the uses, some schools are looking ACT, SAT.
They look at both equally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they just choose to just do SAT,
Yep,
it's
totally fine. They can just do ACT if they want to. Yeah.
I have a question about the course selection, especially the semester course. Yeah. Last year, my son has one semester course, and he ended up studying alone or seed work in the second semester, and he is taking 2 semester classes this semester.
Okay.
So I'm kind of worrying about what will happen in next semester. He will be doing 2 hours of study hall or seed work.
You can ask your counselor, and they can tell you what they're scheduled for next semester.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish that you could see it ahead of time. There's a lot of things in facts I don't like. That's one of them.
I just want to make a comment that I really appreciated what the other lady said up there.
Mrs. Schaefer-Nath,
And
yeah.
I know that you're going to go give presentations to the students, and I'd really appreciate if you told that exact. So I've had 2 boys that have both graduated college and gone through King's, and the story is very different.
Okay.
I just always come because things change.
Yeah,
But what you said about, you apply and they don't want 47 engineers this year.
Yep.
They want, but if you say it's not you,
Yeah.
and it's some combination that you don't even know, because I know that is absolutely true, and especially in out of state, sometimes they require special things. Neither of my boys applied to any UCs or any state schools. They went private and out of state. and it's just, but it changes every
It does
single
change.
year.
It does change
But
a
if
lot.
you could just repeat that to the kids.
We'll have her repeat it.
All those things you said
Yeah.
were really beautiful, so don't truncate it too much.
Okay. No, we want them to understand that it is not about the individual student and their worth or even how smart they are anymore. They have these institutional priorities that they just have to meet.
I have a general question. So a lot of us, kind of heard of a lot of, well-known colleges, but how do we get a list of, college, like a private or smaller colleges, but, less known, but actually offer quality education to by major or kind of social or special interest, something like that, that parents like us, we don't often have resources to?
I would actually suggest that you look at different ranking systems. The big one is US News, but there's another, the Wall Street Journal just came out with one that really emphasized return on investment, and actually San Jose State came out number 16 on it. Because they have a pretty good return on investment because of their engineering, business, and nursing programs. So usually those majors tend to elevate your return on, and also it's a cheaper school, right? So I would just say look around at different ranking systems, and then you'll see a different combination. Another thing about the US News, they rank them, they sort them through national liberal arts. They kind of categorize them, where a lot of these other ones just put them all together into one system. So sometimes that's more helpful to look at. There are other ones that have just return on investment if you do a Google search. And they have some rankings that are just pure return on investment, like how much it costs versus how much their average graduate make. So I think that's another way to. An expensive school does not equal quality education. Just, we all know that, right? Okay. Any other questions? The college match books that we talked about, they get it junior year.
We used to look there, and then you could thumb through.
Oh, the FISC guide. You can find it on Amazon.
Yeah, the same ones she's looking for. And it,
Yeah. That's true.
And smaller, bigger.
Yeah.
Those are still available?
Yeah, they have the books you can buy if at the library, or you can buy it on Amazon if you just look for college guides. The FISC guide, we have copies of them too if you want to borrow one in our office, but that's a really popular one. And there another one that's called Colleges That Change Lives, that was really popular a few years ago, but they have a website that is supposed to be really focused on teaching, like colleges that actually teach more, because a lot of universities are research-based, so they focus more on grad students. So it kind of depends on the university.
I didn't hear you talk about the third option, the financial. So
the financial aid?
Yeah.
So that we recommend that you go to that talk. We're going to have an expert come in and talk about that as well. The FAFSA, which is the free financial, well, I always forget. What is it? The free application for financial federal aid, student aid. I get the letters all mixed up on the form. They had a rollout. That's to get federal money, to get money. You have to be of a certain income level for that. They rolled out a new form last year, and it was a complete disaster. And they're doing it again this year. It's going to come out in December. But one thing I want you to be aware of as 10th grade families is things might change significantly in the next 2 years. That they're kind of coming out with warnings about that because of AI. That's one of the main reasons, and they're saying AI changes rapidly. I don't know that much about it, but even within the past 6 months, it's changed a lot. Colleges are starting to use AI and figuring out ways to use it. And they know that students are also using AI, and they have different policies regarding that. Things are going to look different, probably when your student applies. I mean, the general principles of grades, extracurriculars, all of that is probably going to be there. But I've heard a few people saying that interviews might matter more because that's authentic and not computer-generated essays. So just know that's going to be there. Any other? We can be. That's it. So we will be sticking around if you guys want to ask us questions. Thank you for coming.